Hey guys, welcome back. Robocraft Early Access coverage. This is episode 64. I'm Enigmius, and today, more match footage. We're in Pretty Hate Machine. We're actually going to do one match in my little SMG hover. It's just a little kind of derpy bot that I put together for something to do. It's not about the bot, it's about the matches. Really kind of bizarre matches as things go. This first match, I kind of started towards the end. There were a lot of bots that were already loaded in when I got here. I didn't get much of a countdown. All of a sudden, blam, I was like on the move. We got one guy there cutting right up the middle on a scouting jamboree. Not necessarily what I would consider to be a particularly wise strategy, but that's what he did, and now he's dishing first blood and taking first blood, so to speak. Lots of enemy bots down there. Not a bad situation for a plasma bot to be in, where you can just kind of lob over a ridge and have a variety of different bots that you can score hits on. Not necessarily the best situation for us to be up on this ridge where we are. This is kind of like a really, really ballsy place to be, which is not to say that, you know, we've adopted a particularly and specifically ballsy strategy. It's just if you're going to be here, you're going to take a beating. And you need to be aware of that, because every avenue that the enemy had to get away from their base is basically very easy to get back from and start shooting up this hill if it looks like that's what you need to be to prevent a flanking maneuver. So we get a lot of enemy bots up here. We got one of our guys badly overextended. He paid for it. It's sadly just how it goes. Now the enemy is responding. They're actually being very aggressive, and they're pushing us back up this hill. That's a very smart thing to do, because aggression throws people off. If you're allowed to just kind of sit around, cruise around, shoot whatever you want to do, blah blah blah, it's pretty easy to make decisions. You can stop and consider all of your options, you know, stop and do a few math problems, whatever you want to do. But when you've got someone in your face pushing you back, your ability to come up with a cohesive strategic response is diminished. So now I got a bomber lobbing down on me. There's a couple plasma bots down around their base. This is no longer a very good place for us to be in, and I'm starting to feel the pinch here. The nice thing about what they're doing, if you can call it nice when they're kicking your ass, is that they're being aggressive, but they're not being stupid. They're pulling up right to where they come out of cover, and then they back off. And then they'll pull out a little bit, and then they back off. It's an extremely smart way to play. If we had been doing that from the beginning, we would be much better off. But as it is now, we're sort of kind of falling back into this, all the medics clustered around together. The enemy just kind of peeks out wherever they want and makes a mess. And then the one guy, the bomber, just kind of got flattened. But that's what you get for overextending beyond reason. And now it comes down to a case of who's basically got the toughest spots and the best aim, which is not a bad way for a match to play out. Even if you lose, this is a hell of a lot more entertaining than just racing for whatever empty flank you can find and stopping at the enemy's cap until one of you loses. This is something that I think most of us could agree on. As long as you're having fun in the process of the match, it doesn't really matter what the outcome is. If you're not having fun throughout the process of the match, it doesn't really matter what the outcome is. It's just the process is what really matters, the journey, so to speak. And right now, it's kind of slowing down for us. We're pretty beat up. We're not really presenting much firepower. The enemy is just sitting down there getting healed up. Everything that we throw at them is taken away, because this guy here on my right, a little bit overextended, and he's not responding to the fire that he's taking, and that's kind of an issue. The medics can't really pull up too much farther than where we are. Like this guy here, he's in a reasonable position to be healing, but it requires that we actually keep within range of his heals so that he can heal us non-stop while we're taking fire and giving fire, because that's exactly what's happening to the enemy, and they're taking it to us, and it's just, you know, kudos to them. It's the matches like this where it's the little mistakes that you decided to stay out of cover for 5 seconds longer than you should have that can really spell the difference between success and failure. Now in our case, this is what I don't like to see when I turn around, is all the medics have retreated to the valley. They aren't willing to take any risks, they aren't supporting the front. They're just, when you're busted up, come see us, we're hanging out down here. our offensive position, what little we had, is now completely gone, and it's just a matter of time before, the match is over. I can tell you this, I did not get a hero bonus for this match, but I did stick around just to kind of see how things would pan out, because there's so few bots on either side left. I like these kinds of matches. It's not lopsided, it's not one-sided. It's clear what won the match is that the enemy was better coordinated down in their valley, making use of cover, keeping an offensive presence, whereas this guy is just, he tells the story. Just flipping and flopping all over the damn place until we finally said enough is enough. Now this match went the distance. I don't normally show these matches because they take a very long time. This was an example of just really, really bizarre decision making on both sides. I'm pushing up this flank. This is a very common flank to go up when you spawn on this map on the side that we did, is to push up this flank. There's a decent amount of cover and also a very long open lane of fire that you can take advantage of. Conversely, the enemy can come across that bridge and tuck in to the little opening between the mountains, and that's quite often you'll find a medic circle jerk in there with a bunch of enemies that'll soak up lots of healings, stick out, shoot a few times, take some damage, retreat. This case, the enemy went around the other side, which is also very common. This is one of those maps where you get that sort of situation where one team goes one way, the other team goes the other. Nobody sees anyone until they get to the end of the match, and you see who won and who lost. And there's proof that there was another team there, as one of you had to win and one of you had to lose. Now this is where it kind of starts to go a little bit funky. We got one guy down there, horribly overextended. Not the kind of place that you want to be in. And I haven't decided yet if this is going to be like a full push from the enemy, or if it's actually going to be just a few of them pushing up this side, and as soon as we take care of them, the enemy's going to be coming up behind us. So I don't want to get so far forward that A, I can't reverse my position and adjust to what's going on if necessary, and B, overextend, because we've already got one guy who's decided that, he wants to lob some plasma at me. We've got 3 bots down there. Our guy that overextended finally kicked the bucket. And now it's kind of firing across these mountains, across these hills at one another for what seems like forever. We're just firing and firing and firing. And my biggest thing is, believe it or not, my biggest thing right now is keeping my bot faced in the right direction so that when I shoot, I get 6 projectiles going where I want them to go. That's basically what ends up happening here, is that I'll be shooting and ignoring what the enemy is doing until I realize my bot has slowly spun in a completely different direction from what I wanted. There's an SMG over there, and he's doing a pretty good job with the burst fire. He's taken 3 of my guns off, and I say he's doing a good job with the burst fire in the sense that he's hitting me consistently. Nobody is aiming with an SMG at that kind of distance, at guns, at anything in particular. They're aiming at a bot, and sometimes people kind of forget that just because you can zoom in a bit doesn't mean you're aiming at these little wee tiny specks on a bot that's barely in your line of sight. So I give him credit, say that he was doing the burst fire thing. For all I know, he was just pointing in my general direction and holding down the fire button, and I was catching the few projectiles that were actually centered on me, because you'll see some of that in one of the upcoming matches, and it's just kind of ludicrous. But I couldn't see the projectiles, so I'm giving him credit in this case, but we're just firing and firing and firing. We've got medics healing and healing and healing. Someone has to break this stalemate at some point. You can see back here we've got more medics healing guys way beyond the lines of fire. The railgun, he started shooting and then he took some damage and he pulled back. Not a bad idea for a railgun when you're not loaded, is to completely detach yourself from everything that the enemy could possibly do to you. Now we come down here, this is the valley where the enemy likes to sit up. Kind of a circle jerk is where all the red nameplates are now. And they spilled out of that valley and started coming across this way, so we're like, okay, well, we're going to go cut them off. They're not allowed to do that. That's, we're in charge of this situation, damn it. And then they go back up into the valley. What we really need are some really well-built SMGs to push and kind of create a front that's, aggressive, like we saw in that last match where the enemy kept us pushed back. Like, every time we tried to crest over that hill, and do consistent damage to them, they're like, screw you, and they push really, really hard to get us back, get away. We're shooting you, we're doing a lot of damage, we're hurting you. Makes you want to leave the area that you're in. That's what someone, either on their side or ours, should be doing. But now they've gone and decided they're going to cross all the way over to the middle. Now, it could be in response to one of our bots that just tried very briefly. Actually, no, it was one of their bots that tried briefly to capture just there. Yeah, it was one of theirs. So they weren't even going to try and interrupt the capture. They just decided that they were going to leave the little valley and they were going to pull back to the middle. I'm trying to figure out what the strategic benefit of that would be. You're at the enemy's gates, and you decide, you know what, this is really stupid. Let's head back to the soccer pitch and have a barbecue. Let's do that instead. So now most of the enemy is down over there. And the thing is, they're doing a little bit better than us in terms of how many bots they've killed versus how many of theirs we've killed. They have the benefit of the numbers on their side right now. There's a drone over there. So many drones. So many plasma drones lately. They're so goddamn obnoxious when I'm in a plasma bot. But again, this is a case where all of our guys are just... They won't leave the vicinity of the healers. They should be dragging the healers with them. And you say, oh, Enigmas, smartass, why don't you do that? It's because I'm a plasma bot, and that's not what plasma bots are ideally suited to doing. We're the guys that lob this stuff over your head onto the enemy because that's what our projectiles let us do. These guys are just kind of taking their sweet-ass time. Now, we've got one of these guys, skinny little bugger. Again, up to a certain range, they're not bad to hit, but then they get a little bit too far away, and things go very, very squirrely, very, very quickly. And I mean, I'm, basically getting chewed up by these 4 TX1s, so our healer advances and starts peeling the guy's guns up. Smart healer, There was really very little I could do against that guy. He just had me outgunned in every category. While I'm waiting for reloads, all my guns are gone. It's just the nature of the beast. So... our healer's off ostensibly taking care of that. There's something wrong. There's just something wrong about that. But our healer's off taking care of that guy, and then he comes back. Now we're healing again. The enemy has kind of decided that they're going to come back this way down the middle and challenge us here. We're getting to the point now where if this match had maybe 3 more minutes left where you could, continue and fight and see what was going on, we might have been in a much better position, but we don't. And we time out, the match is over. But coming over this hill, looking at the enemy that was there, if they had another 2 to 3 minutes, they probably would have beat us. Because they've just got way more shooters. That railgun is just going to town on me. I'm taking some heals, but I've got no guns left. They're pushing towards our base. We don't have many bots left. It's basically game over at this point, but the enemy didn't get it done in time. Crappy way to lose, because that was, like I say, very bizarre decisions in terms of where people went and when they went there. If they had made some less bizarre decisions, they might have reached the outcome a little bit soon enough to score a win. So there's that. It's just one of those matches. Now, at this point, I'll just point out that there was a little bit of a technical hiccup with the recordings. I didn't get the audio, so we're just going to play a little bit of music in the background instead of the pew-pew. There's just a couple of short matches that I wanted to show you. There's this one here, and this match will basically illustrate to you why, as an SMG, you don't just aim your crosshairs at a bot at medium range and hold down the trigger. It's not a very smart or effective thing to do. As much as it might seem like, haha, I can spray and pray and catch a bunch of extra bots, it doesn't allow you to get anywhere near your potential damage output, and it's going to cost these guys in terms of what they're going to accomplish in this match. See all these projectiles zipping past me on the left, and then you're going to see some going over me, and then you're going to see some going to the right? Those are all from the same bots, just holding down their fire buttons and shooting in every direction except for where I am. And that's kind of dumb. You should avoid doing that if you're piloting an SMG bot. It's just not a smart way to do business. Now, nicely here, this is kind of one of those situations I really enjoy as a plasma bot. They're all clustered together. I get a little bit of advantage. I can fire over the terrain and hit them where they might have a little bit more difficulty hitting me. And it just lets me, rack up some destroyed CPU throughout the match, even though this isn't necessarily the kind of situation where I'm going to be doing a ton in terms of assists or kills, just because there are so many bots coming and going into my field of fire that it's very difficult to get a significant number, a significant amount of damage on any of them to get credit for the things that really rack up the RP. And again, you can see, look at this, they're going over me, they're going to the right, they're going to the left, they're going practically under me in some cases, and that's somebody holding down the fire button with me in the crosshairs, not understanding that that's not how you make use out of an SMG. So we're just going to keep getting after these guys. We're doing a pretty good job of picking them off one by one. Our team seems to be doing a really good job. Like I say, you've seen me shooting. I'm hitting sometimes. I'm hitting medium, moderate damage. Its plasma is kind of inconsistent as it is, but I'm just keeping my gun busy. That's all I can do. And then as soon as I realized that our guys have pushed them back, now it's time to advance. Right? You don't want to sit back there for the next 2 minutes waiting for someone to stick their head out to shoot at them. You want to advance. Show that aggression, show that dominance of position, get to where you can get after the enemy, because they're running. They're all on the run at this point now. The only thing that's holding me back from getting more RP is that I can't reach them in time. Our guys are doing such a good job of picking them off. So that's what they get for just kind of sitting there holding down the spray and pray. Wouldn't recommend it. Definitely wouldn't recommend it. Now this ends up being one of those matches, another kind of odd one. This is my little SMG. I've showed this before. I haven't done a build for it because it's such a straightforward, simple, tiny little hover build with some electroplates and a lot of guns. This was actually one of the platforms that I had built for the TX1, but I decided that I would swap it out for regular tier 10s. It is not bad. There's nothing special. It's beefy for its size. It's more robust than you might think from looking at it, which is pretty typical with Armor Core kinds of builds. But it's not a showstopper by any stretch of the imagination. Because I'm not a plasma bot, I'm pushing up a little more aggressively, because I do have that offensive presence. If someone kind of comes around the corner, I can just lay into them, right? As opposed to plasma, where you shoot once and you hope it does a lot of damage, because if it doesn't, and they're SMG, they're going to be all over you. So I see our guy there kind of passing over me, doing his thing. So push up a little bit more. I don't want to put him in a position where he's overextended, just because I'm not paying enough attention to push up with him to a certain extent. Like, he's not really badly overextended, because there's only 2 enemies that we can see right now shooting back at him. You're overextended when no one is anywhere near you to support you, and you've got way more enemies that you can handle, and he wasn't in that spot. So kind of keeping a close eye on where he is and what he's doing, and if we have to push up really quickly to help him, we can, because we have that speed as a hover vehicle. But it's just something to be aware of. Recognizing your teammates, sometimes they're just badly overextended and you can't save them, and you're just going to screw yourself over for trying. And other times, if that guy looked like he needed a little bit of support, I could have pulled up to help him, and it would have been a really smart thing to do, because he hadn't done anything wrong. Now in this case, we're pushing through pretty hard, and all of a sudden we realize the enemy has started capping. We're capping, but they're capping. They have the lead. If we leave them alone, we lose. So we push up, and watch the enemies that I pass on my way through. That's basically what you have to focus on, is the enemies that I pass on the way through that basically ignore me on my way to interrupting their cap so that we can win. It's ludicrous. And I'll leave you with that. Enough yammering for today. I got a really special project in the form of a guide that I'm working on for Robocraft that will be coming out as soon as I can get the footage that I need and all the other tidbits put together. If you want to be notified when I add that and other match footage and build guide videos, you can subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on social media. Links for social media always in the information section below the video. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.